What's up, YouTube peeps and barbecue freaks? Thank you guys for joining me today. Today, we're going to do a pork butt. We're going to inject it, get it rubbed down, and we're going to smoke it on my Weber Kettle using, that product that you don't really need, but it's great to have, the Slow N Sear. Yeah, that product. We're going to use that today for this pork butt. I think this is going to turn out amazing. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is start with this marinade. And what I have is, and some of you have seen this before, this is my go-to injection marinade on a pork butt. It's some really good stuff. But I take a bottle of Italian dressing, and I'm going to strain out all the goodness for all the seasonings in this. Get the liquid separated from the seasoning, and we're going to use this seasoning on the outside of the pork butt. And then the liquid we're going to use for the injection. All right, so I got that all strained out, and we're going to take this, all the seasoning here, just dump it in a separate container. In fact, I'm going to have to put this in a separate container too. It's a little too small. So anyway, first thing we want to do is separate the liquid from the all the seasonings inside. So next thing we're going to do is I went ahead and switched this liquid to a bigger container. I'm going to take some apple juice, add that to the mix. And I'm just doing a 50-50 mix. So however much liquid you have from the Italian dressing, you want equal parts apple juice. And to that, the rub that I'm going to put on the outside of the pork butt, that flavor, I also want to try to get it on the inside, or make sure I get it on the inside. So I'm just going to take some of these rubs that I'm going to use on the outside and drop some on the inside here. And that's it. Let's get this mixed up. And this is what we're going to use to inject the pork butt. Next, so here's the all the seasonings, and what I did is I added some mustard to it. I didn't film that part because I'm running out of mustard, and all you would have heard was this like squishing sound, trying to get the last of it. I figured that would be a little annoying, so I just let that out. But anyway, you just add some mustard to the seasoning from the Italian dressing. And then I'm going to take some apple juice, get it in there, and really what we're doing is just making a paste. This paste is going to go on the outside of the pork butt. It's going to act as a binder for a rub, but it is going to add flavor as well. Normally when you use mustard as a binder, it's not for flavoring, but when you mix it up like this, it definitely adds some flavor. You have all the seasoning from the Italian dressing going in here as well. So that should be good. So we're going to put this aside and get started on the pork butt. All right, so here we have it's a 8.6 pound pork butt. So a little over, 8.5 pounds. And I'm not going to do a ton of trimming, but there are some parts I want to get off here. This is just like big, thick pieces of fat. I'm not really overly concerned with, how it looks after trimming it up, since this is just going to be eaten around the house. I do want to take some of this fat away where this money muscle is. So let's get this trimmed up just a little bit. This is probably all I'm going to do on this side. And then the fat cap side here. I really like this fat cap mixed in with the pork butt when I'm cooking at home. So I'll leave a lot of it on. You know, I'll take off just a tad. But for the most part, I'm going to leave this on. And some of this right here is a little hard that I'm taking off. You feel it? This is soft. But I'm not going to take off much. Like I said, I love this fat with all that seasoning. When you get that bark on here, it just looks absolutely beautiful. And then you mix it in with the rest of the meat. You know, as you're pulling this thing apart. Oh man, just tons of flavor. So really, that's probably all I'm going to do here. I think that's all I'm going to do. So that's going to be. Get a little bit of this here. That's good. That's enough. No more. So that's all the trimming I'm going to do. We're going to get this thing injected. All right, so we're going to take this injection, the apple juice with the Italian dressing, and just get this bad boy injected. What I'm doing right now is poking around. I'm not injecting the injection yet. I'm making a pocket or a few pockets in here, and then we'll go in and inject it. Move it around, make some pockets in there to hold that injection. And then inject it. Now inject it. So that's how I like to do it. I like to poke around in here. Make pockets for this injection to hold, and then get it in there. We're going to get this injected. I'm going to use all of this injection here. Make sure you inject it pretty good. Don't be afraid to inject it. However, I wouldn't inject the money muscle too much, which is this part here that I'm hitting up. I'm not going to do that too much. There's a lot of fat in there that is going to provide moisture already, but don't be afraid to really get some injection in here. Next thing we're going to do is got it all injected. Take that paste, just going to put it on the outside. Spread it out and get this bad boy rubbed down. I'm going to cook this fat side up, fat cap up. So I'm going to season the bottom side first and let it hang out. So with that, now the rub, just use whatever rub you like. I'm using a couple of different rubs here, but we're going to get this rub down, and we'll get the Weber Kettle fired up. I'm going to cook this on my Weber Kettle using the one item you don't really need, but it's awesome to have, my Slow N Sear. So we're going to get this on there. Let me get this seasoned up, and I'll show you what it looks like once I get that done. All right, we got it all seasoned up here. We're going to let this set for a little bit, let that marinade, kind of marinate that meat on the inside a little bit as the Weber gets fired up. All right, so I got the pork butt on here. Got my Slow N Sear going. Hickory for the wood. I do got to add the hot water here in just a second, but we're going to get the lid on this and just let it run. I'm not sure what the cooking temperature is going to be. I'm not really worried about that. I've got all day to cook, so I'm just throwing it on, and I'm going to let it do its thing, and it'll be ready when it's ready. But this is what we're looking like right now. All right, you guys, this pork butt has been cooking for 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, about 5.5 hours. And we've got some nice bark on there. It's a little darker than I kind of thought it would be, but that's quite all right. What I'm going to do is take some butter and just add that to the top of this. I did temp it, and it's temping at about 175-ish. So 175-ish to 180. So it's not too far from being done. The next thing I'm going to do is, actually, you know what? Let's take some honey first, or next, and drizzle some honey on top here. There's still some fat in here that will render out. That'll mix with this honey butter and brown sugar. I am going to whip up a barbecue sauce, but I'm probably not going to add that until the end here. This is going to add some sweetness. I do it like this often, so I can assure you that it isn't going to be too sweet. Besides, it's still a big piece of pork, and all this flavor, this butter, honey mixture, once you start pulling it and it starts mixing with the rest of the pulled pork on the inside, it's going to be just fine, I assure you. So I'm going to get some foil and cover this up. I'm going to put it back on the pit just like this. It's probably going to go for another hour to hour and a half, and at that point I'll take a look at it, pull it off, we'll sauce it up, and see how it turns out. So this is where we're at now. I'm gonna get this bad boy back on the Weber. All right, you guys, this pork butt has been going for a total of about 8 hours now. So we're gonna unwrap it. Ooh, steamy. Let's see what it looks like. Temp it with my Thermopin, the only thermometer I really trust. So as you can see, the temp 177, but good gosh, 175. But this Thermopin is going through like butter. It is. You see there, it's 192. So it's got, you know, it's reading several degrees different depending on where I poke it, but this thing is like butter, man. I mean, it's so soft. So I'm gonna call this done, but we do got to add some barbecue sauce. So I'm gonna take this inside, and I'm gonna get that barbecue sauce that I've already mixed up, and you could use whatever sauce you like. I just took a couple of commercial sauces and mixed them together, but use what you like. So we're gonna get this out of the pan, and I want to get it on the grate by itself, get it sauced up, and then let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then we'll take it inside, let it rest for a bit, and cut into it. But so far so good. Eight hours in, and I think this bad boy is just about done. All right, you guys, what I've done so far is I took the pork butt out of the foil pan that it was in, and all the juices that were in that pan, which is quite a bit. Let me see if you can see this real quick. Let me scoot this over so show you what it did. I took all that juice and put it in my grease separator. Now, you notice I mean, that's a ton of juice there, and I didn't add any. I just added the brown sugar, the butter. So a lot of that is that brown sugar, butter, honey, and fat that was still rendering from the pork butt here. So we're gonna let this set for a little bit, and I'm gonna separate that fat from the juices. And we're going to take this pork butt. We're going to take a barbecue sauce that I kind of threw together. It's a mixture of 2 commercial sauces. I found a recipe that I wanted to try out, so we're using that here. And we're just going to base this on here. We're going to put it back on the Weber, just like this. I'm going to leave the foil pan, I'm going to leave the foil underneath this pork butt, just like this. And I'm just going to transport it to the pit once I'm done basting it. So this is already wanting to fall apart. I mean, it's tender. This sauce is really, really good. So we're going to save some of this sauce and pour it into the pulled pork once we get it all pulled apart. So I think that's good enough for now. So this is a pork butt sauced up. I'm going to get it on the Weber Kettle, just like this, with the foil underneath it. Let it set probably about 15 minutes, and then I'll pick back up once it's done. All right, you guys, this pork butt is done. The sauce is set. This is what we're looking at right here. This thing looks beautiful. Can't wait to get into it. Look at that. Man, that looks good. So I'm gonna let this set for just a little bit, and then we're gonna cut into it a little bit. Or I might just take a little piece off and give it a taste test. I don't know if I want to tear the whole thing up just yet, but this is the finished product. Looks excellent. All right, so the pork butt is done. I got it pulled apart here. What I'm going to do is take that, the juice that I put in the grease separator. We're going to take that and add it to the pulled pork. Hey, dog, what did I tell you? Hey, get out of here. Dang dog. Hey, get out of here. Shut up, dog. For you, Dad. So we're going to add that juice in there. Then come back and take some of the barbecue sauce that I whipped up. And let's just pour it on there. This sauce is really good. And then I'm just gonna mix it up. Actually, I'm gonna add just a little more rub. And then just give it a good mix. And that's it. And then I think tonight we're gonna eat some of this in a sandwich. But most of it I'm gonna bag up and freeze. God, this smells so good. I did warm up that sauce before I poured it on, just to kind of reheat up the pulled pork a little bit, but that's it. We'll give it a little taste and see how it turned out. All right, we're going with selfie cam mode here. Got some of that pulled pork, a little bit of the bark. That's good. Damn it, that's excellent. That sauce is really good. And adding the juices back in here, it just adds a ton of flavor. Remember that it's got some brown sugar in there, some butter, some honey, and then just, you know, the fat flavor from the brisket, from the pork butt. That's excellent. So that's a pork butt. We're gonna eat really good from this for the week. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Take care.